And then also last week, 12 minutes finally dropped, and
Mm.
I didn't have a chance to play that until today, but I've played it pretty much all of today. So when I first created this topic, I put down 12 minutes first impressions, and I think we can remove the word first from it because I feel like I'm pretty much near the end of the game. I
Oh
can't
God,
I can't imagine there's much more to do. So I could talk about this a little bit more in depth than I had originally planned.
please.
But so the gist of it is you're in a top down viewpoint, right? And the game kind of reminds me of the old school point and click adventures where you click on an area, your character walks over to it. Maybe there's something that you can interact with. You click on that thing and you perform an action, whether it's picking it up or using it, whatever the case is. And the game starts out and you walk into your apartment and your wife is there and she's happy to see you. She tells you she made this wonderful dessert for you. Turns out she has a surprise, that she's pregnant. And this happens within the first 12 minutes of the game. So I don't consider this a spoiler because this has been all over social media and everything anyway. So in the first 12 minutes of the game, she sits down, she hands you a gift, and she's like, "Surprise, I'm pregnant." And you can kind of have this conversation with her, and you're trying to figure out like, "Oh, okay, so what's the next step? What do we do?" Or you could be kind of negative about it and be like, "Are you sure? Like, is it ours?" kind of thing.
Hmm.
And regardless of how the conversation goes, pretty soon there's a knock at the door. It's the police. They're accusing your wife of murdering her father, and she's under arrest.
Oh boy.
And you could struggle, you could try to fight, but it always ends with you or her meeting some sort of a disastrous end. And when that happens, the game resets and you begin from scratch. And
Mm.
you have to use your limited amount of time very wisely. You only have 12 minutes before time resets. If you try to leave the apartment, time immediately resets. If you try to bargain with this cop, doesn't work out, right? There's all these different actions that you could try to take, but you want to end up using your time wisely so that you're able to get clues. So the next time the loop happens, you're more educated and you can kind of cut conversations short so you can ask specific questions related to what's going on. And this kind of repeats more and more. And each time you go through, you start performing a pattern of actions, almost like a puzzle, where you're trying to get yourself to the point where you know you can progress further, but you still don't have enough information yet. So you kind of try to speed things along as fast as you can. You can only go as fast as your wife allows. So uh, that sounded weird. That's not what I meant. But
It did.
I mean,
It did sound weird.
but you see, like in the clip that I'm showing you, like she's walking around, like she doesn't run. She's only moving at a very specific pace. Now she's getting ready to sit down and have dessert with your character, but you can have a completely different conversation with her, and none of that even happens. So it's very fascinating, and without getting into too much detail, you start finding out that the story is not quite as simple as it seems. You start finding things out about her, about the officer, about your situation, and it starts kind of getting a little bit out of control. I I feel like I'm on a path to finishing the game soon, but I was kind of hitting a wall where I was just doing the same things over and over again. So I decided to kind of back off of it and take a break. And I'm going to circle back again, either tonight or tomorrow and see if maybe, I could take a look at things from a different standpoint. There's been very mixed reviews for this game all over the place. Some people love it, some people hate it. So far, I'm liking it, but I could see where some people might be against the game. Some of the complaints are valid, especially considering that it really feels like it's made for PC with the way the clicking and dragging is. On an analog stick, it doesn't work quite as well. So the controls are not as smooth as perhaps they could be. But overall, I think it handles pretty well. I also read something about the ending just being a complete dumpster fire, and I
Oh no.
I don't know what the ending is. I haven't I haven't looked at it. I don't want to know. But I guess it's not good. So I'm kind of preparing myself for that.
See, that's the downside of sometimes reading too much online is like, even though that's not a spoiler, it's setting yourself up to prepare for something.
It was a headline too. It wasn't even like an article that I clicked on. It was like the title of the article.
Oh, that's annoying.
You know, so it's like, wait till you see when blah 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 shows up tonight on this show. It's like, oh great, now I know. Or we pick on Damien for doing this stuff all the time with us, but he's like, oh, wait till you get to the section with X, Y, and Z. Like, oh great, now I know I have to wait for X, Y, and Z to happen. And it's like, well, that's not a spoiler, but it is. But it's not, but it is. So
exactly. It's a gray area, but a very gray area.
Yeah. Killer Sirach notes that Kojima apparently is a big fan of the game, and I've seen that as well. Apparently he thinks it's wonderful. I did not read his comments on it. That might be something worth your attention. But
yeah, I might look into that. I mean, he likes some stuff that I don't like at all, which is expected.
Yeah.
He probably likes it because it's different.
And I think there's something to that. You know, I think it's a vastly different game that we've seen, you know, compared to anything else that's out there. It's got some great voice actors in it. Daisy Ridley, James McAvoy, Willem Dafoe. Considering that you never see the characters' faces, everything is done by voice. It's well done, man. Like, they certainly didn't phone in the voice acting, in my opinion. I've enjoyed it so far. Although you do start to hear the same lines over and over again, so you know that can kind of get annoying. But that again is just kind of part of the loop. You know, there's really not much else you could do about that. So
yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that the concept here is wildly interesting.
Yeah, like right now you can see the cop is roughing up my guy here, and you know it's all going to reset in a moment. So. You know, and that's just the first loop. This happens over and over and over again. And you can take actions to try to stall the process or sway it in a different direction. And that's really what the game becomes about, is figuring out the puzzle so that what you're seeing right now doesn't happen repeatedly. And it's trickier than you think. It's an obtuse game. And if you like those sorts of things, I think you'd be pretty into this. But if not, then this might not be your jam.
Yeah, this is probably not a game for me. I can just tell. But it's something that I would probably watch on YouTube, like a full-length playthrough, just to kind of understand it.
Yeah, I think that would be perfectly acceptable, you know, for most people. So it's on Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass and you want to give it a try, you know, it doesn't hurt to install it and uninstall it. You know, I can recommend it for that at the very least.